I'm in the game still rapping at a high capacity. If Nas wants to smoke, come in the booth. I will rap
You don't want
circles
no
around.
smoke. He enjoying that 150 million, 200 million. He
Okay then, so then leave me alone while I'm on the field.
You was effing with him. He wasn't bothering you.
They don't really know who Nas is. If he's 22, he's born in 03.
Jim Jones hit up Shannon Sharpe's podcast and dropped a wild one. Said he's not just more relevant than Nas, he's more important to the culture. That's not just confidence. That's a full-blown statement. And the moment those words left his mouth, the whole vibe changed. 50 Cent didn't even bother with a petty clapback or slick caption. Nope, he went straight savage mode and posted an old federal transcript on Instagram. He didn't name drop, but the message was loud and clear. Now fans are out here playing detective, digging up old wiretaps and dragging out vintage clips like it's a full-blown investigation. Meanwhile, Jim's in the gym, throwing shade through diss tracks and barking on IG like he's getting ready for a prison yard showdown. But this ain't just a petty back and forth over Nas, and it's definitely not just about clout. This feels like 50's subtle way of checking the whole game, showing everyone why his name stays out of certain courtrooms. Like, how did some folks magically sidestep all those indictments? Jim might have lit this fire trying to flex, but now he might have sparked something way bigger than hip-hop beef. And when Jim brings up Nas, it always hits different, because their tension goes way back. This ain't no random new-gen jab. It's deep-rooted. It traces all the way back to 2002 when Nas went off on Hot 97 and randomly came for Cameron, trashing his album with no real reason. That was all it took for Dipset to lock in and go full attack mode, and Jim Jones dove straight into the drama. From there, things got messy fast. Nas and Dipset were trading shots across mixtapes like it was open season. But Jim? He took it real personal. He even said he'd smack the kufi off Nas, and kept that same wild energy on tracks like We Fly High. This wasn't just rap, it was turning into something way deeper. But here's where things get complicated. Jim actually used to love Nas. Just a year ago, he wasn't throwing any shade. It was nothing but respect. But that love turned to slick talk quick. Everything flipped when Jim popped up on Fat Joe and Jadakiss's podcast, and Fat Joe decided to throw a little gas on the fire. That moment alone could have just faded out online. But nah, Jim wasn't letting it go. He wanted to keep talking about it, and he leaned in hard. Then out of nowhere, he dropped one of the boldest, most reckless takes hip-hop's heard in a minute. Jim didn't just say he was more relevant. He went all in and claimed he's more influential than Nas. Yes, that Nas, Queensbridge legend. The voice behind Illmatic, Gods was coming from. But all he really did was pour more gas on the fire. And Shannon, he wasn't letting it slide. He opened the convo with a sharp jab. But it was Jim's next comment that made fans literally pause the episode like, did he just say that? Jim leaned in with no filter and said straight up, if you ask the kids in the streets right now who had more influence on their style, their hustle, their vibe, it's me. Not Nas. That line hit like a slap in the face to every hip-hop purist watching. Fans were shook. Not because Jim said he's poppin', but because he really tried to erase decades of Nas's legacy in one sentence. Social media exploded. Threads popped up comparing lyrics, albums, street presence, everything. People pulled receipts from Nas's impact on culture to his business moves, showing he ain't just an MC, he's a mogul. But Jim? He kept pressing the gas. He brought up Dipset's influence on fashion, on slang, on the streets, and he wasn't lying about that part. Dipset had everybody rocking pink tees and bandanas back in the day. Still, there's a difference between influence and icon status, and fans weren't having the disrespect. Even some industry voices started weighing in, calling Jim's comments wild and out of pocket. At this point, it's not even about music anymore. It's a clash of eras, legacies, and who really shaped the streets. Just when it felt like Jim was done comparing resumes, he came with another wild take. He started digging up that old Dipset versus Nas beef from the early 2000s, claiming he was always a real Nas fan. But now, he swore he'd passed Nas in terms of impact. Jim tried flipping it by complimenting Nas's fashion, calling him one of the flyest ever. But every time, he circled right back to the same point. Nas don't move the streets like I do. Then things turned petty. Jim got so salty, he started roasting Shannon for his outfit right there on camera. Total deflection. Ocho Cinco just sat there low-key amused. watching Shannon and Jim throw jabs like it was a face-off. Then Jim turned it all the way up. He claimed, "I'm sitting here wrapping circles around Nas." And when Shannon pushed back, Jim accused him of only inviting him on the podcast for clout. That's when Uncle Shannon snapped. He clapped back with, "This the biggest podcast you ever been on." But Shannon wasn't done. He switched gears fast. From host to full-blown challenger. If Jim wanted smoke, Shannon was ready to take it from the mic to the gym. When Jim said he was better than Nas, Shannon didn't just question his bars. He questioned his body. He basically said, "Let's see if you can keep up physically." Instead of firing shots back at 50 Cent, Jim tried to flip the convo into a workout challenge, like proving his strength in a whole new lane would keep him relevant. But while Jim was out here caught up in gym theatrics, 50 had already made his move quietly. Meanwhile, the comment sections were on fire. The internet couldn't believe a retired NFL Hall of Famer had just turned into Nas's loudest defender. One fan said it best, "Shannon did what Fat Joe and Jadakiss should have done. Jones, you're delusional. Shannon, thank you for calling it out." And honestly, they had a point. Because why were Joe and Jada so quiet during that first interview? While the back and forth kept trending, 50 Cent was in the cut, watching it all unfold like a silent assassin. And he wasn't cracking up. He was calculating. But just when folks thought the whole situation couldn't get messier, it took a petty turn. That's when fans dug up a clip from way back. The one where Jim didn't just get ignored by Nas. He got laughed off the stage, straight up cold. And now in 2025, that same energy is spinning the block all over again. But it didn't stop there, because while Nas stayed silent and Shannon kept flexing, someone else was still lurking. As soon as 50 Cent heard Jim say he was better than Nas, he didn't flinch. He just let out a little laugh, then went into his bottomless petty vault and pulled out something major, reigniting one of the most controversial rumors in hip-hop history. He posted one single caption calling Jim Individual One. No names, no hashtags, just that. And the internet lost it. That post had timelines melting down and than Jim Jones. He wasn't named directly in court. Instead, they called him Individual One. In that call, someone was allegedly giving orders to violate Tekashi for flipping on the crew. Jim's voice was never officially confirmed in court, and no charges were ever filed. He once deleted fast, and this time, he dropped it with full intention. It was that meme that said, "So that's why they ain't pull him in. Say it ain't so, Jimmy." Rewind to 2019, when the Shade Room posted updates from Tekashi's trial, and a verified courtroom reporter straight up said Tekashi named Jim Jones as a 9-tray member. 50 couldn't help himself. He commented under the post, stirring the pot with perfect timing. Then came that viral clip. 50 Cent pretending to look scared, writing, "I'm afraid for my life. Jimmy is gang gang." Fans were howling, but you know Jim was tight behind the scenes. And here's the twist. 50 didn't jump into this to defend Nas. He's had static with Jim for years. This Nas moment, it was just the perfect excuse to start dragging Jimmy all over again. Back in 2007, the drama between Jim Jones and 50 Cent had already started bubbling. Things hit a boiling point when 50 brought Jim and Jules Santana out during a G-Unit show, right when Dipset was all of 50's shady posts, every single one. And at first, he played it cool. He posted a throwback Bird Gang era photo full of Dipset nostalgia, captioned, "Why you keep lying? LOL. I'm going back to sleep. Free mail matrix till it's reversed." That free mail matrix line was a shout out to his longtime homie doing over 11 years on a racketeering case, and low-key a shot at 50 for building a narrative from the outside. But Jim wasn't done yet. He hit the gym and dropped a flex post with a fiery caption aimed straight at Shannon Sharp. "Somebody tell Shannon Sharp don't start ducking this challenge now. Go and talk like a pop." He said y'all stuck in yesterday, mad at how things work today, and he's not wrong about how the internet plays into the fame. Then came the caption that said everything. "I said what I said. I will wrap circles around any artist from my era. Whoever dare step in the booth, bring a bag, cause this game ain't free." Jim's making it clear. He's outside, active, and moving like this is still 2005. Take it how you want, but he's not backing down. He says he's working every day and ready for whoever steps up. But the wildest part? Through all this chaos, Nas hasn't said a word. He's staying silent while Jim keeps poking, keeps flexing, keeps calling himself more influential. If Nas ever did reply, it wouldn't just be a diss. It might be a straight-up lyrical execution. Fans are already calling Jim out, saying he's doing too much, and that Nas's silence is power. Meanwhile, 50 Cent? Still in the background. Watching, plotting. If there's any unreleased wiretap still floating around, Jim might have just baited himself into a corner he can't talk his way out of. 'Cause when 50 gets quiet,